by. So expect this to be Varus' first pick. Usually it's the higher of the two on the ladder. And the hover does suggest that will come in. And now IG have an option. Do they want to go Yone and Sejuani? Or do they want to slam something kind of in a different direction? Leave the Sej there, kind of force Tian onto it, and then maybe you get a slightly better or more positive jungle matchup because of it. I think those are the two most likely pathings here for the draft as the timer's ticking. Alistar. Surely it's a hover. We're not doing it blind. We are doing
locked
it blind.
in.
Okay. Now,
one of Meiko's big champs so far this split.
I was going to say, it's certainly one of the champions that Meiko is pretty damn proficient at. It does mean that the possibility, obviously, of Yone plus Sej drops drastically. They don't have to lock in an AD here because, obviously, they see that Varus has been locked in. They can, of course, just do it anyway, but then you risk potentially playing into Yone Sejuani as well. I mean, TheShy is going to go towards this Uric. Breathe. I mean, options still are plenty as far as the Uric matchup's concerned. Jax is the first one that springs to mind. You can obviously go Sion. Cho'Gath is also another that we see come through quite frequently.
But I think this also gives them breathing room later on where you just don't have to deal with the Sion as well. And it works into the Yorick if you can get the better of the matchup itself. But I really like some of this setup for a game number 3 as well. The Rakan going to be the answer for Erhat in the bot side into Alistar for Meiko. Meiko's most played champion of his prolific career. Yeah,
I mean, it really is. Erhat had a fantastic showing on this pick against JDG. He was able to make Paze's life pretty damn miserable. We'll see if he can replicate that against Gala here. He's looking on to a little bit more of a setup champ via the Jhin. Can, of course, go toe-to-toe in priority in the laning phase. And typically, when you talk about Varus and Jhin and priority in lane, you would then defer to the supports. But I think Rakan and Alistar might be some of the least priority getting supports in the game at level 1. As far as the pro play pool is concerned. So it really is going to be a little bit of a battle to hit level 2 first. There's the Yone banaway. So saying to me that IG not really wanting to play with that at all. And of course, the Weibo, it would fit very, very perfectly into their composition. Additional layer of dive with that Rakan. They've already got the front line. Where will Weibo go? Really, in response is the question. Is it just going to be like mage bans towards rookie? Dive bans. Okay, Akali. There's not really another diver off the top of my head that is typically played here, so I guess there is an angle for maybe something akin to a Victor ban. I think Victor would be pretty frustrating to play against here as Weibo.
Either that or Annie. I feel like Annie can also be really frustrating.
Annie could also be pretty jarring. I actually think because they have Jhin, it might be the better of the two calls here. We'll see what the...
Jhin hates to see an Annie coming.
Well, IG don't want to play Annie either. Yeah. So, I mean, in fairness, if you recall back to 2023, when Annie was meta, Xiaohu... Well, he had some good games on Annie, and then he had some bad games on Annie. I know that seems very broad, but genuinely take that at face value. Sometimes this guy would make Annie look like the most broken champion in the world. And in other times... he made it obvious as to why it was recommended by LS for new mid laners.
Yasuo, man.
Yeah, so calling out, of course, you know, Ricky and Jiejie playing the Diana Yasuo combo, so just kind of calling that one out, which I like respect. It's the Lydia still nonetheless. And I wonder if Ricky's got another AD champion up his sleeve. I mean, Ricky also quite infamous for something like the Jace. Right? He used to play a whole bunch of Jace mid lane. So I wonder if this is actually what's going to end up being the lock-in here, depending on if the matchup looks good from what Xiaohu and Tian lock in.
Yeah. I gotta say, I think we finally got both teams on the same page that we're playing a best of 5 that means the most for your split. Because both teams are finally coming out with actually good drafts at the same time. Not just one team having a good draft like in last game. I do like the Corki here, give it a little bit of damage profile to that mid lane for Xiaohu. But I will say you really need a lot of setup potential, and I guess they're going to go with the Zyra for Tian to be that lock-in factor.
Okay. Tian Zyra.
It's a throwback,
this one,
man.
Yeah, I haven't seen this one too much this year, but obviously down the tier list. Where does Rookie go? I mean, if there was ever a time for a Jace, feels like this isn't too bad. Rookie Orianna. It's vintage. It works.
It's very good. Yeah, the last time we got to see it as well. It is going to be the lock-in of the Orianna. So our teams are set. A little bit of a throwback for Tian on the Zyra, but he knows that they needed some big engaged spacing setup for their team, and the damage is no slouch on the Zyra. On the other side, though, the proactivity that Jiejie can have on this Lilia and the combinations they can have with Rookie, that's going to be the big shining light for them, pun intended.
Yeah. Good pun. Good, great pun.
To talk not about light, yes.
I feel like Breathe is going to be the other like weird silent X factor here. If he doesn't get put really far behind, there isn't like a great tank buster on this IG lineup. Obviously, you know, Lilia can get through a front liner over time, right, with the true damage on the Q and the Leandries and such. But that, again, keyword, time. It takes a fair bit to get through a big meaty health bar like Sion's. So we'll see whether or not that comes to fruition. Otherwise, the rest of the composition, very, very squishy, very vulnerable to a shockwave, very vulnerable to Lilia as well. And I'm particularly curious about how Jiejie plays this. Anyone who's watched the LPL for multiple years since at least I've been around, you'll know I'm very critical of Lilia players and how they often fulfill and find their role in this game with the general lack of engage. I'd love to just see Ionian boots rush, get a Zhonya's ASAP. You are the instigator. Flash forward, get the multiple man sleeps constantly. That's what you really want to see as much as you can. Let's wait and see if Jiejie pulls that one off, though.
It's going to be a big light on the jungle matchup. We're into game number 3 now. Weibo Gaming versus IG. And I love that for this best of 3, the crowd has really gotten in sync. I'm glad to get this game number 1 underway. No, game number 3 in this best of 5, as this series is expected to go the distance. And I find it interesting that Blue Side has found so much dominance already in this one. But we will see if that almost 50% win rate on Red Side will end up paying out for IG, and if they can take hold of the series, because somebody of these two teams has to step forward to match point.
I mean, this draft is infinitely more playable for IG than Weibo's was in game 2. No major shenanigans, though. I will say it looks like IG are actually going to give Jiejie a leash. It's not something you see
in 2025. What?
Now, my expectation here is that Jiejie is going to do something with this, right? Being able to get a leash here really does, you know, give you that little bit of a buff, an edge to the overall clear speed. Gala's going to be a pretty annoying trade.
Yeah. Hates his life here. It's a poke Varus, which makes Jin's life a living hell.
Yeah, lane not going to be fun. Yeah, like you said, it's 2025. Not often we see leashes. See if it's actually going to amount to anything. The big difference between Zyra and the Lilia here is that Zyra just clears significantly faster on the first clear. And it's not even really close. You can see Tian is already transitioning over to the Wolves, pretty much on it. Whereas Lilia just finished the Wolves now. So we'll see just how much that leash is actually going to help out. Why are they running? Rookie's Orianna is the most played champ of his career at 64.5% win rate. And over 100 games.
It's a lot of games played.
Not a bad stat to hold.
It's about almost a little bit better than 50% win rate, this split at least. But on the other side, I want to go back to the Tian Xiaohu picks. First picks of the split of the Zyra Corki for the two of them. Obviously very experienced on the picks itself. Look back just a couple years to the proficiency that Tian had on the Zyra when she was big in the meta as well. One of the most lethal Zyras in the game. As we do see a nice little level 2 into the bot lane. Airhawk gets hit by the deadly flourish, and first blood goes to Meiko.
Just an overstep, an overreach, and Tian
The
Ganking
response,
TheShy.
Breathe gonna flash out of the wall. The Pandas can't stop him now. TheShy flashes too late, gets hit by the slow. And one more auto, it's enough. Tian gets the response on the other side of the map for Weibo.
Yeah, I love the fact that both Breathe and Tian were trying to predict TheShy's flash. TheShy just holds it, like doesn't press the key. Jiejie might be able to stick around here. Oh, so Tian isn't going for Skull because he wants to make it to his second rotation. Raptors here. You can see Xiaohu also on the minimap is covering for this. So Jiejie is not going to take any risks in attempting to make that invade happen. And we did see some brief shenanigans of the wave on the bottom side of the map, but nothing will come of that either. So first blood did go over, of course. Well, not to Gala, up to Meiko, and then that counter punch up in the top side does leave everything a bit even Stevens. There is one thing I would like to talk about, as long as we don't get memes pretty much everywhere. It's Erha's Keystone choice of Unsealed Spellbook, because
I've been seeing it a lot more lately.
Yeah, so this was recently buffed. I want to say it was this patch. It might have been 2510. I'm growing old, Mazel. My memory fails me much more consistently.
We can't read.
Fortunately, Erha's got a book full of unsealed spells that he can read.
It's a picture book. He doesn't need to read. No.
Yeah, exactly. This Keystone is really, really powerful, depending on what kind of usage you get out of it. Especially if you're kind of burning spells on cooldown. The eventual... effectively what you want to do with it is you want to get out all of the spell swaps early on, ASAP, so you can get the really overpowered 90-second swap timer, which usually hit around just after the 20-minute mark if you're doing everything right. We'll see if Erha does that and how much value you can get out of those additional extra combat spells that you can have after 6 minutes. Because, frankly, again, having a Keystone a lot more, or having some of the spells much more than you should, pretty OP, as Light's going to have to burn the cleanse there in that trade.
That's big. I mean, if you can just get up under this poke Varus, it's definitely going to feel really good. I mean, even in this early part, doesn't really have much to speak of. Going to be trying to stack up that tier. I love the shenanigans we're getting between the junglers, though. Jiejie ended up getting that Scuttle Crab, and then Tian followed him into his side of the jungle, trying to keep pressure on him. In the end, it does seemingly end up being Jiejie in the lead. And I gotta say, the clear speed for both these guys is gonna be impeccable, but it's really about their impact in these fights and around these objectives. No dragon started up just yet from either team early. Grub's in about 1:45.
See if that dragon does get started up. I would expect that Grubs is what gets contested first, honestly. So Jiejie has a bit of a window here where Rookie's gonna get prio on this wave. You can see in the mid lane. And then, of course, Gala and Meiko are just kind of holding their ground right now. Pings are actually coming out onto the dragon from Weibo, so they know that this is like a decent timer.
They know that TheShy doesn't have mana either.
Yeah.
Decimating smash
damage.
in. The pandas, though, you know, they're hard to deal with.
Yeah, they farmed the wave. They farmed the wave.
What is the Panda Maiden called then? We got to think of a good name for the Panda Maiden. Panda Madium? No, that doesn't work. That's too far. Panda. No.
Well, you could just say Pandemonium.
That's what I was gonna say, but it doesn't. You got a maiden somewhere
you want
in there, right?
Yeah.
Well, we'll workshop it. We'll workshop it. We'll get back to it. We'll get back to it. No, but it's gonna be something hard to deal with for sure. But I got to look at the map states now. Still no dragon. Some lane adaptations coming out potentially here. They're moving TheShy down towards this bot side of the map, and now resetting Gala to potentially go top.
Seems to be what they want for now. I mean, I wasn't expecting an early dragon contest, so not super surprised. There's Erha using TP to cheat a little bit of tempo here. Not the most explosive use of Spellbook, but it does get the job done, and he'll get a little bit of preemptive vision down. We're going to track this, Mazel.
Okay,
That's what we're going to do this game.
I mean, this is literally like...
Spellbook usage.
Do you remember how insane Zyra and / Brand, when they were the big meta, destroyed Grubs? So maybe see a little bit of that here for Weibo as they've already started up. Gonna take the second Grub. Jiejie right around the corner. Erha Going to be focused on Meiko. Going to be forced to flash away as well. Does end up making it out, and all 3 grubs go to Weibo on a double marksman composition. TheShy going to be focused in on Gala. Isn't going to find much in the end. Does see the vision played down there. And the 2v2 will readapt towards top lane.
Yep, it will for the time being. Jiejie. Oh.
Oh? That was a little bit bold. I mean, he realizes they have level 6 over Meiko, and Meiko just loses 3/4 of his health almost instantaneously, and TheShy picks up the kill. The supports picking up all the gold.
Yeah, yoink. My gold. Hey, man, he's got spellbook. Let him cook, okay? Tian, oh, he's not going to be able to catch the wave there. I think if he caught it, if he was able to hold it, they might have just straight up dove him if this wave here crashed, but don't want to waste the time. Rather, tempo. Have to make it down here instead. But they'll find that dragon will be long gone. IG should be able to secure this without any contest, really.
A little bit of a setup on bot side, but that dragon going to be a nice little early stacking. I guess not early, technically. 4.5 minutes late, but still going to be something for IG to hold on to. And on the red side, you love to see it. The maiden is going to go down. No! What will TheShy do? He is maidenless. And he just gave over 50 gold to breathe. There's a little bit of a setup play from Weibo. Maybe trying to catch somebody in transition here. Are going to be spotted out walking into the pixel brush. There's Weibo centering around TheShy on this bottom side of the map.
Seeing if they can eye an angle. They want Brief to probably just get this wave in and then get a base. So TheShy isn't going to give it to him easy.
He's still just fighting. He's angry that he lost his maiden, you know? I'd be angry too. Does end up taking his anger out on Breathe.
Oh no.
And he will stop the back in the end. A little bit of rainbow off the back of it.
No
Happy
maiden,
Pride
no
Month.
Cry, Shy.
Yeah, true.
No maiden, no cry.
So fitting. Man, you know, we could probably come up with a whole album of LPL songs. Not gonna lie.
True.
Honestly, that should be what we commit all of our resources. TheShy. TheShy. Missed the cannon, bro. I know you ain't gotten your maiden. It doesn't mean you gotta stop caring about yourself, man. He's just gonna die. No way.
No,
okay, he's in
fine.
a lot of trouble.
Brief is out of mana, but
They're both out of mana. They're just gonna run at each other. You get these grass stacks going. This is the noodle fight of all noodle fights.
Ah, man. Never change. He's not even... Bro!
He realizes he can't back there. Oh my god.
Yeah, no, don't ruin the party. Now the question is... Okay, now here's the problem.
No.
Breathe has shoved the wave. This all has to be Tian's damage now, because Breathe is just a walking...
I mean, he could just sacrifice his life, right? He's going to tank up.
Okay.
Okay, well, there you go. And he's out of the turret shot. Oh, man. That's going to hurt. That's a massive wave on the bot side and a lot of damage done by Tian. You can see why the Zyro, maybe a sneaky pick for Tian. Of Shockwave, that's a layup if I've ever seen one in League of Legends. And TheShy goes down to Jiejie.
See, the cleanse almost got him out of that situation. But unfortunately, he took too much damage. So, died. Spellbook usage good. And now... Oh!
Yeah, Xiaohu is just completely cooked under turret. He goes into the sleepy time. And Rookie will get the kill. I got to give a shout out to Meiko and Rookie, man. They are playing ball out here. The headbutt into the shockwave combo. You love to see it.
That felt bad for Xiaohu, though, man. Like
it did, yeah. The flash and Valkyrie.
He flashed over that, man. That sucks. Anyway, TheShy is no longer maidenless. I have maiden.
Got his panda maiden.
Yeah, panda maiden. Yeah. Though I know they're pandas. Oh, Brief celebrate his 6th LPL anniversary.
They're pandas that meow, which I find absolutely hilarious. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Shout out to Kelsey Moser giving us all the awesome behind-the-scenes stuff. But Breathe, definitely a long-tenured, little bit of a rocky road, and also somebody that knows Xiaohu pretty well. There's a couple relationships in this one across the table here. But still, speaking of the game state right now, it is Weibo Gaming surrounding Rookie on bot side. A pretty dead even game, 13.5 minutes in. It does feel like Rookie is going to be able to pressure the rest of them out. Tries to get the shockwave. Doesn't end up getting. Tian takes a ton of damage for it.
He got his flash. That's what he got.
He did?
Just out of vision because of the way the observer toggle was for us. As, yeah, every time we look up here, they're just battling it out. Doing their thing, trading grass stacks. I think one of the most satisfying things about this matchup for Breathe probably just has to be, like, the additional value that he gets from his passive. Then, of course, just, like, having overgrowth as a rune. You just get so much free stats.
It's 14 minutes in, he's got 3,000 out.
Yeah, I mean, if you really think about it, he's got 759 stacks on the passive right now. That is pretty much 2 Giants belts worth of health. 2,000 and free gold at 14 minutes.
I think the hardest thing about it all is, like, you're wondering where the sustained damage is on the other side for IG. Like, if I don't see a rush of a Lord Doms, Gala is going to be completely useless into those frontliners. You're going to really have to get onto the squishy members, which there are a lot of on the side of Weibo. But I'm just imagining Breeze standing in the face of Gala, being untouched. You're going to have to rely on TheShy. You're going to have to rely on Rookie and Jiejie to really have that sustained damage if they can find it. Honda Breathe in this front line. And now we do have those first item spikes coming across. The Yumu's completed for Light, and the first collector there for Gala. It's going to be close for the mid laners to get those first spikes too.
Yeah, Triforce is going to be coming in.
It's a little bit late with the stop off for the tier. And he got the tier way late. I mean, Rookie had his tier and finished his Archangels, already evolved it into Seraphs.
Yeah, also the Merc Treads were picked up. Most expensive boot that Xiaohu could. Obviously into AP mid jungle.
Yeah, rightfully so.
See it still. It does feel like a bit of old muscle memory building though. I don't necessarily think this is like the Merc Treads game of all time, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's the first pick for both them, him and Tian, so far in the split at least. Which is saying something in a series that matters for your entire split, and see if you're not going to be seen until summer. For all these big names, I mean, they're willing to flex a little bit of their muscles.
They are. Breathe is getting a little bit of bounce action in, some proxying. Might actually, I mean, it depends on if Weibo want to contest this. And it looks like the answer is yes. Breathe is rotating down. Could have gotten a lot out of
Xiaohu?
Yeah, okay.
He's safe, I guess.
Yeah.
Confidence.
Oh,
deadly flourish in there. Erha's just going to pop quickness and try to block it. 4 shots going to connect, and Tian's already down. The shockwave comes through on the back as well. Breathe going to get a nice decimating smash. Meiko makes it out alive. How many times has Meiko made it on a smidgen of health? TheShy can't connect, but maybe he doesn't need to. Pandas are cooking, but they're not able to find anything. IG strike and end up getting their dragon stacking as well as the kill.
Chemtex will be the soul here. Doesn't feel too bad. This game taking less damage here against Poke. Oh, the scuttle does Jiejie a solid there. My goodness, he is very quick with
very
the blue
fast.
snipe.
That's the power of Bambi in the jungle. It is really nice to see kind of the consistency we've gotten from both junglers so far. I will say, though, if we're looking at the state of things now, IG have a lot of proactivity available to them. Tian just getting caught. Unfortunately, nobody, like, that's the way they built their comp. There's nobody else but the Scion to really block those kinds of things.
Yeah, and the Scion wasn't quite there yet. Key thing, Meiko squeaks away on 1 HP. And Light forced to use the cleanse, and then eventually the flash away from the cage as well. Just a great fight all in all from IG, and even if they lost Meiko, they still got the objective, and it would have just been a 1-for-1 they'd happily walk away from.
Do you think swirl seeds taste good?
No.
Okay.
No, well, to me,
you don't think Tian's enjoying that?
it feels like it would just be like some kind of plant. Well, it's small seed, you know, like it feels like it's gonna be like a plant meal. And like I personally, I just can't get out of my head like all of the vegan alternatives to like meats, you know,
It's
like
just a beyond swirl seed, you know.
yeah.
Good times.
We'll go with that. Yeah.
All
I
right.
mean, yeah.
Well,
I
maybe
just,
we'll be able to ask Tian how they taste later on. We'll see, though. It is still, though, already a little bit of an advantage going the way of IG. Is not much to speak of 19 minutes in, only about 1,000 gold when both teams have a lot of scaling options. And that's what I want to talk about next, is where the pressure lies for both teams. You have a double marksman composition really teed up by the CC around it for Weibo Gaming.
Yeah, and that's really going to need to be the key here. The poke aspects of Xiaohu and Light really need to do their work. IG, much like game number 1, where there wasn't a lot of reliable engage, you know, IG suffering from that, whereas Weibo, at the very least, they've got the Rakan, right? The Scion can be used as kind of a dummy, a middleman. And that's really how Weibo want to operate. Get the poke out, have Erha, you know, be allowed to find a good angle, and just kind of play off that. That'll always be your way in here for the meantime. However, IG in the lead and keeping themselves at arm's length away from Weibo.
Now, the blue buff will go over to Light, giving him some of that more poke potential there. Atacon up on this top side could be a little bit of a landslide. Meiko getting caught, though. He's in a lot of trouble. Going to get the heal out as well to get away from that engage. A piercing arrow back on the fight. And Meiko will be forced to back away from the Rift Herald that Weibo wanted.
Great pick. And Meiko was not willing to...
Dude, observers, you're on one tonight, bro. Like you know,
I've
the
never
pan seen that
like,
passive aggressiveness.
The observer just very obviously, for anyone who didn't catch the context clues there, wanted Meiko to go and eat the plant and then just IG to go back and contest. But evidently, they just weren't really feeling it.
That's wild, man. That is wild. I have never seen that. We've seen zoom-ins. We've seen everything. And maybe a little bit of zoom-in on Xiaohu now. Meiko is looking for an angle. They do know somebody's there now that they saw the ward get placed down. Meiko will back away.
God, that's so funny.
It's so funny, man. I've never seen that before.
There was
all
just
right.
a level of
We've been waiting on this. We've been waiting on this. This is the Tian lower third from Kelsey Moser. Tian opens the comedy club. Been said after beating TES, the farce is over. But today, the comedy begins. It's a hell of a quote. It's actually hilarious. The back and forth that Bin has just represented, I guess, in their wins and their interviews, but Tian having a little bit of a response there. And so far, maybe a little bit of a response on this Zyra coming in clutch for game number 3 as the Rift Herald will charge in mid lane, get that outer turret, and Xiaohu will do his due diligence in the side lane and take another one.
They will indeed. Meiko's on a pretty good angle here. Tian.
It's his sole point.
Yeah.
Flash steal it.
Tian's gonna get it.
Do it. Do it. No, okay. It's not going to be doing it. They
Now
did
the
get about
question
half health
is,
on the tier 2 and top
What is
side.
Meiko about to do?
I think
Nothing.
everybody's scared in this mode. Like,
Okay.
Tian was also terrified that Meiko was behind him, but then they realized Meiko is the only one over here. Has a little bit of ships in the night there. Going to get the flash out of Meiko, but that is sole point on a Chemtech Soul for IG here into this game, only 22 and a half minutes in.
Exactly. I've got some bad news
Yes.
on the spellbook tracking.
Okay.
Erha's been sat on this exhaust for a long time.
He has.
Again, for anyone who's unfamiliar with the changes, the basic summary of what you want to do with it is just use the summoner spells ASAP, and then you get the really OP swaps as hello.
Look at this. I really like this angle from IG. They don't want to walk up the choke point because they realize this Zyra with the Stranglethorns can absolutely rinse them. Weibo will be forced away from the play that they started. Will not be able to take the Atacon, maybe leashed for IG, who feel confident at this position. They have a lot of space to play with in this setup. There's no real choke point for Tian to get that Stranglethorn. We'll see if he can get his vines under tow, though. Atacon's going to reset. It goes down to Erha with the smite. That Spellbook coming out clutch now. Tian goes down on the back of it. They already got the permanent buff, but they're going to lose bodies left and right and center. Breathe about to go down, and there's the curtain call. Light tried to back. That was greedy as hell. 4 shots not going to go through, and Jiejie's in some trouble too. Erha a little bit low. The Maiden's coming around, and now this is just fish in a barrel as everybody's falling. That's going to be Gala picking up multiple kills, and Xiaohu knows what's coming next. His old ADC, 4th shot to the dome, and Xiaohu is gone. Weibo are aced.
They might have gotten the Atacon with the cool double smite tech, but they kind of got aced doing it. IG, I think that's going to kind of just seal very firm control over this game for certain. If you didn't think they had it before, they should have it now. Baron's in 40 seconds time, you expect just recalls to come through, set up to remain on this top side, and just see if they can force Weibo into another fast and very, very snappy decision. There's that double smite. It's kind of hard for IG to do anything for Weibo, or rather for Jiejie to find the timing. He just kind of has to expect it. And yeah, the fight is split apart very, very quickly. Tian dies for his sins. A lot of damage does come out from Xiaohu, but the fact of the matter is more damage is finding its way onto the Weibo health bars, and then they will end up corralled underneath this tower.
Oh yeah, this situation sucks.
Yeah. Not the best place to be with a bouncing grenade.
Really appreciate Gala's entrances into these fights as the Jin, really finding his marker here, 5-0-2. And on a Jin of picks that we said was really utilitarian in this one, was really setting up everyone else around him, but now he has this kind of mid-game spike that's going to be really powerful to play around. 3 items in with the RFC and IE both completed.
He is incredibly powerful. And he knows as well, he doesn't really need to hit breathe. You know, as long as he's popping these shots at the squishy targets, he's doing his job. RFC also speaks to the fact that he understands that the range differential between him, right-clicking champions, and the spells cast is quite high. So being able to weave in those RFC auto attacks are very, very potent.
See how it comes out here, but the map setup is really good from IG so far. A little bit more than a 3,000 gold lead for themselves right now. Not at the end-all be-all, as you have to remember, this is a double marksman comp from Weibo. Their scaling will be inevitable. Tian will be a monster in these later fights if he can get the right Stranglethorn down. You gotta start thinking about the little ins and outs, the side lane pressure TheShy is going to be bringing, and honestly, this pickup of gameplay that IG has had across these last 2 games. Tian just dies in front of the Baron to Rookie. He's shaking his head. He knows what just happened, and he knows this could be the precipice to put Weibo with their backs against the wall.
Their backs are against the wall already.
Look at him. Look, he's so upset. That cannot happen at this level. In a series that it is your defining series, if you are continuing in split number 2, those moments cannot happen. And now he has to sit there and watch his team try to connect with this Baron. Meiko's found the flank of all flanks. Erha will see him in the end after he blast cones over, but it might be too little too late. Meiko's in there like swimwear, baby, and Xiaohu will end up getting pressured off. The double marksman, they are not online yet, and Xiaohu gets hit in the back by Gala. Here comes this big curtain call. It is going to try to pick off Breathe, doesn't find him. Meiko going to get the lockdown with the deadly flares from Gala, and he has a heat-seeking missile on his RNG teammate of old in Xiaohu, and that's going to be another clean fight from IG.
And it's going to lead straight into the Dragon. The clean fight will result in an uncontested objective, which will give them Chemtech Soul. And with Baron in pocket, you expect that should just be the base being broken open after this reset. That should come through here for IG. And it's been an excellent game 3. A real solid bounce back after what felt like a very, very muted game 1. Game 2 and game 3, IG have completely come alive.
They really have. They realize the importance of the series, but it's also step-ups from a couple members that maybe have had some quiet series in the recent history, especially Rookie and Gala. You get these guys because you expect them to be able to pick up the mantle when it matters most. And here in these last 2 games, they have 4-0-5, 5-0-3. And that is a hell of a scoreline to have going into a Game 3. That means momentum just completely goes into your favor. 4th item completed for Gala. Rookie gonna flash out, get the shockwave back. Xiaohu can do nothing as the swirl seed connects. He's gonna get the lilting lullaby and the burn from the Leandries. Oh my goodness, Weibo Gaming. They have been completely gapped in this Game 3.
They really have.
Look at the frustration on every single one of their faces. That is brutal.
See it, especially in Tian. I don't want to single him out, but
I mean, he knows.
Story.
Like,
we know
he holds himself to that regard, right?
Yeah, he does, and he is on top of that as well. Particularly emotional player. It doesn't really help that. I mean, him getting caught out on that Baron was what's led to this complete explosion of the game state. 2 inhibitors have dropped.
That's what happens at this level, man.
Walk out with that.
Okay.
All right, yeah.
He's going to have a little bit of fun with this one. All right, the 4th shot going to hit onto Airha. But, I mean, these are the kinds of things, especially in the LPL, momentum is king. And one slip-up like that against a good team will just mean the game goes completely out of hand for you, especially when compositions are this tight-knit, when we talk so much about the fact that both teams finally have playable drafts, and it still ends up in a one-sided affair.
One-sided it's been. IG just setting up to be in this top side of the map. Let these super minions do the rest of the work for you. It's textbook. Not much else to say now. Baron isn't there, so the sieging might be a little bit more difficult, but I mean, with the lead that IG have, nothing in this game should be too hard. There's even Gala now.
He's testing his damage numbers.
I want to remind you,
the training dummy.
Gala went PD.
Yep.
He did not go LDR.
It's wild. Like, he actually probably does good damage there if he had LDR.
I mean, sure, but do you know what he also gets to do?
Zoom.
Really fast. Look at this.
He's race car man. Dude, why does Jin not have a race car skin?
How do you make that work? Sell it to me. Sell it to me
He's
right
the driver, right? Like, he's got the driver suit on, maybe. He's got a helmet. Flames on it.
Right.
Does you know flames mean it goes fast?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
speaking of
like
fast. Oh, shockwave hits on the light, and they flash forward for it. Gala, 4 shots light in the face. And now the deadly flourish on the back of it. Gala is just making mincemeat of Weibo Gaming, and it's going to be served up on a platter. The maiden is in the foreground, and another one will get a triple kill for Gala. Can they give him the quadra? The turret shot's not going to be enough to take him down, and TheShy will be able to clean up the rest of it. Look at the minions. They are full on pressing into the nexus of Weibo, and Xiaohu will meet the end of Gala's gun once again. The friendship is no longer 10-0-3. Gala just made a statement.
Incredible game from IG to bring themselves to series point. And I mean, Weibo just, it looks like they've borderline collapsed, right? I don't think they've really done a fantastic job at handing themselves particularly easy drafts these last 2 games. And I think that has been a pretty major contributing factor. But at the end of the day, you know, you can only really lean on the crux of a draft argument for so long. IG have just been playing better. That has just been what has been happening in these last 2 games, where it's been IG rotating first. It's been IG with better lane assignments. It's been IG with snappier engages or counter engages for that fact. And overall better positioning to not enable Weibo to be able to pick them off, right? That is one of Erha to me's big strengths. Isn't necessarily being a playmaker in the sense of a game state being super even and, you know, just finding something out of nothing. It's when games are messy, when games are getting a little bit scrappy, when someone oversteps, he's great at punishing that. But IG haven't even offered them a window to do that super frequently. So I just can only really sit here and praise IG and be left a little bit bewildered, almost disappointed really that Weibo aren't putting up more of a fight in these games across the map.
It's been 3 very one-sided games. Even Weibo's game 1 win was like over 15,000 gold in their favor, and it's got to mean something that this is our first red side win, at least of the series. What that means in terms of momentum, I gotta say, we talked so much about the experience between these mid-jungle duos. We've seen that experience play out, and I lean on that for this game number 4 for Weibo. I don't expect... There's 2 avenues this can go. It can be a complete and total emotional breakdown and not work out for Weibo, and they go quietly into the night in a 3-1 fashion, or it lights a fire under their asses, and we see an incredible series, game 4 by Tian and Xiaohu. We see them get proactive pieces that they can really work with in the early parts of the game to set them up for success, and we end up going to that game 5. But I think there's about a 50-50 chance on which one we get, especially when I'm looking at the emotion. I'm a big guy that looks at the emotions of players and how they're feeling in the series, and when you look at the faces on Weibo, I mean, all of the hope had just gotten sucked out of the room.
It did feel like that, you know, when you're looking at the player cams. And that can always be the trouble with, you know, rosters like this, where you have one really disheartening game.
It was one decision, one moment. Like the game was so in their grasp. One decision from Tian.
League of Legends, right?
Yeah.
We'll see what Weibo can do to bounce back, because it's not looking great right now. And even if they are to, you know, return back to blue side, I wonder if that's what they're gonna do. Even I wonder if they just kind of. I wonder if they do try and flip the script and just say, you know what, screw it, let's go red side, right? Let's try and throw
that 30% win rate, that 35% win rate. Oof.
It seems to me that regardless of what side they're on, end result drafts don't look fantastic, right? And at least to me personally, I'd much rather be on red side, where I can get, you know, after the first pick, 2 considerably powerful champions, and R5, which hopefully you make very, very useful. I think there's a lot of additional utility to red side that people don't talk about, other than when it comes to draft, right? There's obviously the geography of the map and all that stuff, but that's a much more technical discussion, which I'm not having here on this broadcast.
It's too early for that.
I think it's too well, you know, it's like midday here. I know it's...
You can use my time, so it's 5 a.m.
It should be a sleeper clock where you are. Yeah, the damage actually quite evenly spread.
That's actually wild. And Jin gets the most damage in the game. That's my GOAT.
Give Gala MVP. Go on.
He deserves it. I mean, the man went like, what did I say? It's 10-0 and something.
Yeah.
And you love to see it, because Jin has been a powerful pick in the LPL, but also in terms of the recent meta in League of Legends, it's such an undersung pick in terms of what it can do once you get a little bit of a lead, and I loved that they used that. I mean, they had a small advantage in that mid game. We were saying, you know, oh, he's on 2 items, he's about to hit 3 items. They just snowballed that completely, and it was some really good curtain calls from Gala himself.
Yeah, shockwaves as well, really solid from Rookie throughout. They weren't necessarily, you know, these big 3-4 man multi-man shockwaves, but what they did do were, you know, create more space, not to lean on that meme, but for, you know, members like Jiejie to step forward with a little bit more confidence, really take certain members out of team fights just because they get chunked, even if they don't necessarily die. And yeah, once this play went down up here in the top side, kind of just felt like this was the end of yeah, the game, right? Getting crowd into a corner at top tier.
You don't see this often.
No, you really don't. And I just hope that Weibo don't go out on a whimper here. That, I think, would just be the most disappointing outcome. Even if they lose game 4, as long as it's competitive, I think they can kind of just hold their head high. Yeah. But they would still look at this series as one where they would, you know, you would expect them to win. I think that Weibo have shown a lot more promise in recent weeks, whether I personally like it or not. And this is not.
I mean, you do. You said that you had that whole monologue at the beginning of the day. Yeah. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's true. But you know, God damn it, Mazel. They have looked like a team that's, you know, just kind of continually and very gradually grown, but this has not been representative of that growth that they've shown
hasn't.
over recent weeks. And IG, we spoke about the swinginess of this team. It seems like today is one of those days where everything comes up aces.
It is indeed, and I think a lot about the factor of, you know, what happened in Split 1 for both these teams. They literally had one series in the playoffs, and while the playoffs was a little bit of a different format for sure, they both went out in the first round 3-1 in that fashion. Weibo have made a much better run of it in Split number 2. Not only their finishing of the regular season, but then, you know, being able to take that round number 1 in that upper bracket, then falling down to AL, and then trying to recoup some of that momentum. But IG themselves, I mean, this could be an impeccable run from them to really use some of that momentum we've seen them gain. I mean, they had to play all 5 games against FPX, and they won that one in a barn burner in game number 5. See if they can utilize some of that to really close this one out, or if we're going to get that game number 5 on the other side.
I do hope it's a game 5. I think
hope
that
so, man.
Weibo deserve it. Not for this series, specifically today that they've shown us, but just for the split, all right? MVP should be Gala. Gala?
Should be absolutely Gala. No way. No way. They are on something over there. We're going to have Kelsey Moser make a graphic. That's ridiculous, man. I mean, I love Meiko, Alistar. He didn't have a bad game. But, dude, MVP. Gala had heat-seeking missiles on Xiaohu's face. Like, I don't know. Like, he was a massive difference maker there. But what a way for game number 3 to play out. IG will take a 2-1 lead and step up to match point for them. We'll see if Weibo can have a little bit left in the tank, bring us to that silver scrapes, or if they go quietly into the night, and we'll see them in summer. We'll see you for game number 4 on the other side of this break.